A nation on edge: Harris versus Trump in 2024. The 2024 U.S. presidential election is shaping up to be one of the most consequential in recent history. The stakes are high. The nation is on edge. Former President Donald Trump, despite facing multiple legal challenges, is seeking a return to the White House. Standing in his way is the incumbent Vice President, Kamala Harris. She carries the weight of the Biden administration's successes and failures on her shoulders. The campaign trail is already fraught with tension, accusations, and a palpable sense of anxiety among the electorate. This election is not just about policy differences, it's about the very soul of America. Trump's tenure was marked by deep divisions, an erosion of democratic norms, and a constant assault on truth and facts. Harris represents a return to stability, a commitment to democratic values, and a more unifying vision for the country. As the campaign heats up, the nation is holding its breath. The outcome of this election will have profound implications for America's future, both domestically and on the world stage. The choice facing American voters is stark: a return to the chaos and division of the Trump years, or a path towards healing and progress under Harris. Trump's rhetoric, a threat to democracy? Donald Trump's return to the political arena has been as divisive as his presidency. His rallies are marked by the same inflammatory rhetoric, personal attacks, and baseless conspiracy theories that characterized his time in office. Critics argue that Trump's words are not just empty rhetoric, they are a clear and present danger to American democracy. Trump's repeated claims of a stolen election in 2020, without any evidence, have undermined faith in the electoral process. His attacks on the media as the enemy of the people have eroded trust in journalism and fueled the spread of misinformation. And his encouragement of violence against his political opponents, most notably during the January 6th Capitol riot, has raised serious concerns about his willingness to incite violence to achieve his political goals. Many fear that Trump is not just a symptom of America's political dysfunction but a direct threat to its democratic foundations. His disregard for the rule of law, his attacks on democratic institutions, and his willingness to exploit racial and cultural divisions for political gain all point to a dangerous erosion of democratic norms. The battleground swing states hold the key. As in previous elections, the path to the White House runs through a handful of key swing states. States like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Arizona, with their mix of urban and rural voters, will once again be fiercely contested. Both Harris and Trump are laser-focused on these battlegrounds, deploying their campaign's resources and tailoring their messages to appeal to local concerns. Harris is focusing on mobilizing the Democratic base, particularly Black and Latino voters, while also reaching out to suburban women and independent voters who may be disillusioned with Trump. She is emphasizing her experience in government, her commitment to bipartisanship, and her plans to address issues like healthcare, climate change, and income inequality. Trump, on the other hand, is relying on his base of white working-class voters, rural conservatives, and those motivated by cultural anxieties. He is hammering familiar themes of economic nationalism, immigration restriction, and cultural grievance, painting Harris as a radical leftist who is out of touch with the concerns of ordinary Americans. Economic anxieties: can Trump be trusted again? The economy is always a top issue in presidential elections, and 2024 is no exception. While the Biden administration can point to a period of economic recovery following the COVID-19 pandemic, inflation, rising costs of living, and lingering supply chain issues are causing anxiety among voters. Trump is seeking to capitalize on these economic anxieties, arguing that his policies are the only way to bring back jobs and prosperity. Trump's economic record, however, is a subject of intense debate. His supporters point to the pre-pandemic economy, with its low unemployment rates and stock market highs, as evidence of his success. However, critics argue that these gains were largely due to factors outside of Trump's control, such as the Obama administration's economic policies, and that his tax cuts primarily benefited the wealthy and corporations. Moreover, Trump's trade wars and protectionist policies are blamed by many economists for disrupting global supply chains and contributing to the current inflationary pressures. Voters will have to decide whether Trump's economic populism and promises of a return to past glories are enough to outweigh concerns about his unpredictable behavior and potential for economic disruption. Section 5. The Cheney Feud, a House Divided. The Republican Party is deeply divided, And nowhere is this division more apparent than in the bitter feud between Donald Trump and the Cheney family. Liz Cheney, the daughter of former Vice President Dick Cheney, has become one of Trump's most vocal critics within the GOP. Her outspoken condemnation of Trump's role in the January 6th Capitol riot and her refusal to embrace his false claims of a stolen election have made her a target of his wrath. Trump has lashed out at Cheney, calling her a rhino, Republican in name only, and endorsing her primary challenger in Wyoming. Cheney, in turn, has accused Trump of being a threat to democracy and has vowed to do everything in her power to prevent him from returning to the White House. The Cheney-Trump feud is a microcosm of the larger battle for the soul of the Republican Party. It represents a clash between the party's traditional conservative wing, represented by Cheney, and the populist, nationalist wing that has coalesced around Trump. Section 6. Trump's legal troubles, a shadow over the campaign. Donald Trump's legal troubles continue to mount, casting a long shadow over his presidential campaign. He faces multiple investigations and lawsuits, ranging from his business dealings to his efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election. While Trump has denied any wrongdoing and dismissed these investigations as politically motivated witch hunts, they represent a significant legal and political threat. The most serious legal challenge facing Trump stems from his efforts to interfere with the peaceful transfer of power after the 2020 election. The Justice Department is investigating Trump's role in the January 6th Capitol riot, as well as his attempts to pressure state officials to overturn election results. If Trump were to be charged with a crime, it would be a momentous event in American history, potentially derailing his campaign and further dividing the country. Even if Trump avoids criminal charges, the ongoing investigations and lawsuits are likely to dog his campaign, providing ammunition for his opponents and fueling the perception that he is unfit for office. Section 7. Neck-and-neck polls show a tight race. With the election still months away, polls show a tight race between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. National polls consistently show the two candidates within the margin of error, suggesting a deeply polarized electorate and a highly competitive contest. The outcome of the election is likely to hinge on a handful of key swing states, where even a small shift in voter sentiment could tip the balance. The closeness of the race underscores the importance of voter turnout. Both campaigns are working to mobilize their base and persuade undecided voters. Harris is hoping to capitalize on the energy of Democratic voters who are motivated by opposition to Trump and his policies. Trump, on the other hand, is banking on his ability to rally his base of loyal supporters and to exploit cultural and economic anxieties to his advantage. With the stakes so high, the 2024 election is shaping up to be one of the most closely watched and fiercely contested in American history. Section 8. The economy, a mixed bag of challenges. The U.S. economy is facing a complex and uncertain outlook. While the Biden administration can point to a period of economic recovery following the COVID-19 pandemic, with unemployment rates falling and GDP growth rebounding, there are also signs of trouble on the horizon. Inflation remains stubbornly high, eroding consumer purchasing power and fueling anxieties about the rising cost of living. Supply chain disruptions caused by a combination of factors including the pandemic, the war in Ukraine, and increased consumer demand are contributing to shortages and higher prices. The Federal Reserve is attempting to combat inflation by raising interest rates, but this carries the risk of slowing economic growth and potentially tipping the economy into recession. The Biden administration is facing pressure to address these economic challenges, but its options are limited by the global nature of many of these issues. The state of the economy is likely to be a major factor in the 2024 election. Voters will be looking for leadership and solutions to address their economic anxieties, but it remains to be seen whether Harris or Trump can offer convincing answers to these complex challenges.